Hello everyone. How are you all? Welcome to Teachtigers. I'm Ushasri, your bio mentor. So, why am I here today? So today we are going to start a biology revision. So revision of biology for NEET. Yes. So we all know that the time is completely limited. So we have to start our revision program. How many chapters you have completed up till now? The perfect revision. I think you might have a little bit of doubts, right? So if you have any doubts regarding biology, okay, so you can ping us, you can send your doubts in the Telegram group which is given in the description below, and let's start our revision now. So today I am going to start with animal kingdom. So in entire biology we know that the kingdoms, both animal as well as plant kingdom, is a little boring and dry concepts, but I'll make it a little lively so that you will remember all the concepts in an easy way, right? So without any further ado, let's get started. So before that, guys, you already know that out of 720, yes, what is our NEET? What is our NEET weightage for biology here? So it's 360. Yes, biology alone is 360. So when you compare with physics and chemistry, you have to give more weightage to biology. Yes. So to get minimum marks, that is 300 out of 720, you have to give more focus for biology. So to get that marks or to get more than 300 plus, so please stay tuned to my channel and let's get started with today's concept. So coming to animal kingdom. So what is animal kingdom? It's a large domain where all the animals, yes, all the animals from the single organism, single cellular organisms to multicellular organisms, all are being classified and kept in a proper order. Yes. So what are the classifications and what are the different phylums which are present in animal kingdom, and what are the characteristic features that they share? So let us see our today's concept and how are these organisms are being classified here. So there are few basic levels where the organisms are classified into different phylums. So see, what is the categories? See, we are saying about dogs, we know about cats, tigers, all these animals. All belongs to same category. All are animals only. So what is the difference between each and everything? And amoeba is also an animal and tiger is also an animal. So we can't keep them together. Yes. So what is the difference? So that is basis of classification. So coming to the basis of classification, we have level of organization, symmetry, body organization, Serum, body plan, segmentation, notochord, circulatory system and embryonic development. So these are the characteristic features on which the organisms are classified. Okay. So let us see all these in detail. So first we'll know what are the phylums which are actually there. So we have the invertebrates and the vertebrates. So non-chordates and chordates. So all these, how they are classified and grouped into, what are the examples that comes under each and every phylum. So coming to the first, that is level of organization. So what is the level of organization? So level of organization means how the organism is actually made up of. So what is our body made up of? We will say that cell. Yes, cells are the one which forms a body. So how they are formed? By division, right? So cells will divide and forms entire multicellular organisms. So that advancement from a single cell to multicellular organism, there is a division. So based on this divisions, organisms, based on the arrangements, based on the division, the organisms are classified into four forms. The first one is cellular level. So coming to cellular level, the organisms which are classified into cellular level is sponge. So sponges, that is Porifera. So cellular level means what? The organisms which are having cell aggregates, they will perform all the functions of the sponge's body. So examples is sponges, poriferans, the pore-bearing organisms. Coming to the next level, that is tissue level. So tissue level, here it is little bit advanced when compared to cell level. So what you find in tissues? So tissues are a group of cells which have similar structure and function. So here little advancement here, right? First it's only cells. Now cells together they form into tissues. So little slight advancement. So the tissue level of organization where the organisms are cnidarians. So cnidarians exhibit tissue level of organization. Coming to the third one. The third one is organ level of organization. So now see, cells to tissues, tissues to organs. Now here the tissues with similar structure and functions in a coordinated way formed organs. So now we got organs which do specific functions. Yes. So the specialized functions, the organs which do specialized functions are organ level of organization. That is from platyhelminthes. From flatworms onwards, advancement of organ system was there. So how the flatworms? What is a flatworm example? And what are the organisms and what type of characteristic features they exhibit? We'll see in detail. So the last advanced level is organ system. So organ system, here all the organs are kept into one body and they perform the functions in a controlled and coordinated way. So final advancement where all the organs are there and they all perform all the functions individually and they will coordinate with each other and they will be forming entire organism. So from arthropods onwards it started. So arthropods until the last they exhibit organ system level of organization. So the second one is symmetry. So what is symmetry? Symmetry is a plane of division which divides the organism body into two equal halves, right? So here symmetry is of two types, means based on the presence and absence of symmetry. Yes, it's of two types. So organisms are categorized into two forms. One is asymmetry. A means absence. So the organisms does not exhibit any symmetry. So body is not divisible into equal halves. Example, if you take amoeba and sponges. So amoeba sponges comes with asymmetry. So how the amoeba look like? So this is how it look like. Can you make this amoeba into equal halves? So in any plane, if you take from this axis, it's not equal. From this axis, it's not equal. So it will not exhibit symmetry. So these are asymmetry organisms. Okay. The next one, if you take, is symmetrical. So the organisms which are divided into two equal parts. Okay, two equal parts. A plane of division that cut the body of an organism into two equal parts. Then the organisms are symmetrical organisms. And again these symmetrical organisms are further classified into radial symmetry and bilateral symmetry. So what is this radial and bilateral symmetry? So coming to the explanation of the radial. So if we take radial. So I will take a best example. Just see this organism and tell me what it is actually. So this is what? Is it looking like Hydra? So this is Hydra. So if you cut this organism body which is cylindrical in shape, this cylindrical structure, if I cut this from the central axis like this, it is going to get into two equal halves. And if I do in this plane of axis, then also it can be divided into two equal halves because it's cylindrical body. And this way, yes. So here, when the organism body can be divided into two equal halves in any plane of division, can be divided in equal halves in any plane passing through the center is radial symmetry. So examples are starfish and hydra. Fine. The next one is bilateral symmetry. So coming to bilateral. So here, bilateral symmetry, the organism body can be divided into two equal halves, but in only one plane of division. That is, so if you take an organism body, for example, if you take arthropoda or even human beings, if you take, so can we be divided into two equal parts? See, this is the only way that the body can be divided into two equal halves. Yes, in other plane of division, it cannot be. So radial symmetry is all the ways we can divide and get two equal halves, and here bilateral is only one plane of division through the center, so it can divide the body into two equal halves. Examples, all vertebrates. Whereas here, starfish and hydra. Okay, let's move on to the next basis of classification, and this is how they look like. This is the organism which exhibit bilateral symmetry, arthropods, and here hydra. Yes, and the last one is sponge, where it cannot be divided into equal halves. But there is an exceptional case. In sponges, there is an exceptional case, leucosolenia. This is a sponge which exhibits radial symmetry. Okay, because it's cylindrical in shape. That is important. Exceptional cases they are going to ask you. Please note it down. Next, body organization. So body organization, if you take the organization of the body into germ layers, also known as dermal layers. So how these germ layers are actually formed? So when you take the fertilization process, at the time of fertilization, egg and sperm, when they fuse, they give rise to what? Zygote. So the single-celled zygote is going to become into a multicellular organism. So to form that, it has to what? Divide. So when it divides, it forms several cells, number of cells. Now these cells starts to arrange in the form of layers. So at the time of formation of layers, they form germinal layers. So from each and every germinal layers, we'll get different parts of the body of an organism. So coming to this, these organisms are further classified into diploblastic and triploblastic. So here you can understand diplo, di for two. Yes? So animals in which the cells are arranged in two embryonic layers, that is diploblastic. So what are the two layers? Ectoderm and endoderm. You can see in this picture here. So the outermost layer, which is called as ectoderm. So ecto means outside, derm means layer. And the innermost layer, which is called as endoderm. Endo means inside, within. So endoderm is the innermost layer. And the next one, if you take, is triploblastic organisms. Triplo, tri for three. Tri for three. So three germ layers. Animals in which the developing embryo has three germinal layers, then they are triploblastic organisms. So what are the examples? From the platyhelminthes to chordates, all the organisms are triploblastic. Okay. So here, what is the third germinal layer apart from ecto and endo? That is the middle one, which is mesoderm. So mesoderm is the middle germinal layer. And if you see the picture carefully, in diploblastic organisms, there is one more word called mesoglia. So here, instead of mesoderm, these diploblastic organisms will have a gel-like or gelatinous substance which is present in between the ecto and endoderm. Okay? So that is what? One more extra point over here. Next, let's move on to the next basis of classification, that is body cavity or coelom. So what is body cavity or coelom? So coelom means it's a space or cavity. So why actually we need coelom? Why do we need coelom? For example, so if you have an empty room, then you can buy furniture and you can arrange it according to your wish. Right? Same way, organism body, if it's free, then the arrangement of organs can take place. So for the arrangement of organs, we need space. Yes? And not only that, now if you take for example heart, so heart pumps the blood. At the time it beats, right? So for the contraction, relaxation, for the pumping of blood, it needs to move. For that movement also the space is required. The same way, lungs, inspiration, expiration, for that also lung movement. So the free movement of organs and the free passage of the substances, for that coelom is required. So coelom is a space that gives space for the body organs to settle and to work properly. Okay. So if the coelom is present, the organisms are called as coelomates. If coelom is absent, then the organs are called as acoelomates. So how they are classified into? So the body cavity which is lined by mesoderm. Already we know what is mesoderm. That's a middle germinal layer in the triploblastic organisms. Yes. So based on the presence and absence of coelom, organisms are classified into various types. First one, acoelomates. Acoelom, again absence of coelom. There is no body cavity for these organisms. If you see this picture in flatworms, the body cavity is absent. So ectoderm is there, endoderm is there, mesoderm is there. Here mesoderm is there. I am talking about the coelom. So coelom is absent. So no coelom. So these are acoelomates. Next, pseudocoelomates. Pseudocoelomates. Pseudo means false. So pseudo means what? False. So the organisms which have the body cavity, which is formed or lined by the mesoderm, but they are in the form of pouches. Okay, like this. It's not a complete coelom. So this is pseudocoelom. Coelom is present, which is lined by mesoderm, but it's not completely there. It is in the form of scattered pouches. So this is called as pseudocoelom. So it's called a false coelom. So animals which body cavity is lined by mesoderm and it is present as scattered pouches. Example, you take Ascalminthus, which are called as roundworms. The next one is eucoelomates. U means true. Here the perfect formation of coelom and which is lined by mesoderm. So it has to line the mesoderm both ectodermally as well as endodermally. Okay. So mesoderm lines the ectoderm and endoderm and forms a cavity. Then those organisms are called as eucoelomates. Okay. So eucoelomate organisms. What are those? Example, if you take from annelids to chordates, all the organisms are eucoelomates. And here eucoelom is further classified into two types. So eucoelomate animals are of two types. First one is schizocoelom. So schizo means splitting. So splitting of mesoderm. So splitting. So coelom is formed by splitting of mesoderm. Okay, from annelids, arthropods and mollusks. All these exhibit schizocoelom. You can see in this picture actually. So here there are few mesodermal structures, cells, which are formed by splitting and then they will develop and then they form the mesoderm line. So this is how they form. Next one is enterocele. Enterocele, here the coelom is formed by fusion of gut pouches. The difference between the schizo and entero is this. Okay. So it is from echinoderms, hemichordates and chordates. Here you can see this. Right? So there are pouches. So gut pouches, they will be fused. Then they form the next layer. Understood here? So next. So coming to the next body plan. So there are three types of body plans here. So first, cell aggregate type. Cell aggregate type we have already discussed in the first starting of this class. That is, sponges exhibit cellular level of organization where they don't have formation of tissues or organs, so they'll have cell aggregates. Whereas the rest of the two body plans are, one is blind sac body plan and the next one is tube within tube body plan. So what is blind sac? If you see this picture, here there is one opening, yes, and there is no opening on the other end. So one end opening is there, the other end there is no opening. So this is completely a blind sac where the single opening serves as both mouth as well as anus. So this type of organisms which exhibit this body plan are called as blind sac type. So coelentrates to platyhelminthes, all these organisms exhibit blind sac type of body plan. And the next one if you take is tube within tube. So here we are having two openings, yes, two pores. That is mouth and anus. So here the blastopore develops into mouth as well as anus. So here it exhibits tube within tube. You can see in this picture. So inlet is like this and outlet is like this. So mouth is different and the anus is different. So this type of arrangement is tube within tube and it's found in Nematyhelminthes to chordates, nematodes to chordates. All these exhibit tube within tube body plan. So coming to the next. Segmentation. So segmentation. Segmentation means what? Segments, right? So if you say earthworm, so it will have segmented body, right? Yes? So if you see the segments and if you want to see the anatomy of this, if you cut the body and see the structures inside, internally also it will be segmented. Okay? So these segments are called as metamers. Metamers or segments. Okay. So the organism body, if it is internally as well as externally segmented, then that formation is called as metamerism. And there is one more type, that is pseudo-metamerism. Here it is false appearance of segmentation. Example is tapeworm. So Taenia solium, this is a best example for pseudo-segmentation where the externally segmented body will be there whereas internally it's not segmented. Okay. And it will have detachment of the segments. Those are called as proglottids. which are the infective stages in the human body. They act as parasites. This is one more interesting and important point. Please note it down. So coming to the comparison, if you take, here true body segmentation is exhibited, here it is false. And here the segmentation is visible both externally as well as internally. Here it is only external but not internal. Segments are fused and cannot be separated on will. If you cut the earthworm body, the organism will die, right? It cannot again rejoin or work as individual. But whereas here, they are separated on their will. For what? For infection, to create or to cause infection in the human body. Okay. So those are called as proglatids of tapeworm. Here, most distinctive in annelids, that is earthworm, leech and all are the best examples. Fine. Next is notochord. Very, very important concept. This is a characteristic feature of chordates, notochord. So if the notochord is present, then they are chordata. If the notochord is absent, they are non-chordates, right? So we'll see what is the definition of notochord now. It is mesodermally derived. Now again, what is mesoderm? When we have three germinal layers, this is outer one, ectoderm. Yes, and the next one, innermost one is the endoderm. And the middle one, middle structure which is present, that middle lining is mesoderm. So this mesoderm. So from the mesodermal lining, from the mesoderm epithelium, so from the mesoderm germ layer, this notochord is formed or derived, which is a rod-like structure formed on dorsal side during embryonic development. So in chordates especially it is present. So how it looks like? Okay. The chordate characters, if you take, this is a nerve cord. Below the nerve cord, notochord will be there. And there will be pharyngeal gill slits and a post-anal tail. These are the characteristic features. So here this is the notochord, which is the characteristic features of the chordates. Let's see the comparison of the chordates and non-chordates. So if you see the chordates, notochord is present. That is what notochord, a rod-like structure. Here in non-chordates it is absent. That's why they are non-chordates. Notochord is absent. Dorsal hollow single nerve cord is present. So this, the above one is a nerve cord, below one will be the notochord. So nerve cord is present. Here ventral solid double nerve cord will be present. Dorsal hollow single nerve cord, ventral. What is dorsal and ventral? This part will be the ventral and this is the dorsal part. So the difference is in the presence, dorsal or ventral. Understood? Here pharyngeal gill slits are present. This is one of the chordate character. Pharyngeal gill slits, which I have just gave the example for the chordate. Yes. So and pharyngeal gill slits present. Heart is ventral. Where a heart is present? This side or this side? It's in the ventral place, right? So ventral heart, chordates. Dorsal heart, non-chordates. Understood? So here post-anal tail is present. This is what the post-anal tail is. Post-anal tail is present. Here post-anal tail is absent. Okay, that's a basic difference in between chordates and non-chordates. Okay, next let's go to the next concept. Notochord and vertebral column. So how this notochord and vertebral column are different from? So notochord on like an embryonic development, it will be converted into vertebral column. So vertebral column is the skeletal system which protects the spinal cord. So we have vertebral column. Yes, I am having right. So in that vertebral column, the vertebral column protects the spinal cord. Okay. So notochord develops into or changes into vertebral column. You can see this comparative and later on you can note it down. Next, let's go to next one, that is circulatory system. Circulatory system. Circulatory system here. This is also showing the difference in the organisms. What are the two types? One is open type and the other one is closed type. So open in the sense, now generally blood, where the blood flows? Inside the body. Okay, if it is flowing inside the body, where again? In between? Yes, inside the blood capillaries. That means in the blood vessels and blood supply. But here, based on the circulation of the blood, the organisms are classified into two types. One is open type. So you can see in the picture clearly that this is how the blood flow. and they are not completely entering into the blood capillaries, but they are moving into the tissue spaces. Sinuses means tissue spaces. Okay. So in between the tissue spaces, the blood is going to flow. So this type of organization is tissue or open type. Okay. In the tissue sinuses, open type of circulation exhibited in arthropods. Whereas the closed type, it's confined to blood capillaries. Okay. So you can see here, there are ventral vessels, axillary hearts and dorsal vessels where the entire blood flows inside the capillaries and vessels but not in the spaces. This is the basic difference. Fine. Next, embryonic development. This is very, very important because how the organisms are finally classified. What is the fate of blastopore? So, I already told you zygote formation takes place after fertilization. Now the zygote, how it gets divided to form the entire organism body. Now, while it divides, first 2-cell stage, next 4-cell stage, it goes on dividing. At the time it forms a mass of cells. Okay, a ball-like mass of cells, that is morula. After that it forms the next stage, that is blastula. Okay, so in that now, if you see, there will be hollow space formed. Okay, and at one particular point, blastopore formation takes place. Pore means what? Opening, a hole, right? So if you see clearly here, the blastopore formation takes place. This blastopore initiation takes place at one particular site and ends to the other end, which forms mouth, and the other one is anus. But which one the blastopore forms into? That is fate of blastopore. If it develops first into anus, then it will be uterostomes. If the blastopore first forms a mouth, then they are protostomes. Proto means first. Okay, proto, first. Stome or stoma means mouth. So if the mouth is developed first, then they are protostomes. If the mouth is formed later, that means first the blastopore forms anus. Later it forms a mouth. This is how the organisms are classified into. Understood this concept? Next, let's start with the classification of animals. The first phylum, that is Porifera. So what is Porifera? Pori means pores. Pori means pores. And fera means bearing. So the organisms which have pores on the body. So how a sponge look like? If you take a sponge, they look irregular. Yes, that is what we have discussed already. And they have pores all over their body. What is the function of these pores? So this is how it looks like. So pore bearing organisms are called as poriferans. Okay. So what is the characteristic feature of this poriferans? So these are all marine organisms. They are inside the water. Marine organisms. Okay. Marine means what? Salt water. Sea. Okay. So they are marine. They exhibit asymmetry. Can I divide this sponge into equal halves? Not possible. So they exhibit asymmetry. And the next one, they have cellular level of organization. Here, they don't have tissues, nor organs, nor organ system. It is a basic level, that is cell aggregate form. So cells are doing all the functions here. So digestion, respiration, excretion, all the process is done by diffusion of this what? Cells. Okay. So next, they exhibit water transport or canal system. So water transport. Here I told that everything is done by what? Diffusion process. So who is actually receiving that water? Because it's completely present inside the water. If you just go to seashore, there you'll find intertidal rocky flora and fauna. The rocky shore flora and fauna, there at the time of low tides, the rocks get exposed. On that rocks you'll find this sponges sticking on the rocks, or else in the deeper parts of the ocean also you can find the sponges. So these organisms will receive the water, and along with the water they'll receive the nutrients, okay, through small openings on their body, and they will digest everything and by diffusion process, and they filter everything with the help of flagellated cells called coinocytes, and they are going to exit the water along with the waste products. So this is how it works. Okay, let's see a few more points. So water enters through minute pores called ostia. You can see there are small pores on the body. These pores are called as ostia. Now these pores will accept the water along with the foodstuff, and they will keep all the food materials by filtration process into an opening called as spongiocele, and from where it goes out through osculum. So osculum is the opening here, which is the only opening where the exit of water takes place. Understood? Next, nutrition, respiration, excretion is performed by the water transport system only. Few more interesting points of poriferans we are going to see. So here, these poriferans are further classified into several classes with the help of the skeletal system, that is by spicules. If you take spicules or spongin fibers are actually the different structures which are classifying the sponges. Fine. So egg and sperm are produced by same organism, then they are called as hermaphrodites, and they exhibit asexual reproduction by fragmentation and sexual reproduction by gamete formation. So gamete formation takes place, that is sexual. If there is fragmentation, that means parts of the sponges, if they break, then the individual piece is going to regenerate and it's going to act as an individual. Here, I told most of the sponges are marine, but there is an exceptional case again in sponges, that is, can anyone tell the answer? Please write in chat box. It's spongula. This is a freshwater sponge. Fine. Freshwater sponge, exceptional case, please note it down. So this is how the freshwater sponge looks like. If you see this is how the pores and how the sponge's body look like on anatomy, that is on the cross section. And if you see how the water flow takes place, you can see in this picture. Now, see, this is how the color which is entering through the pores on the outer structure, and then it is the pores and the color is coming out through one opening, that is osculum. This is how it works in the sponges. Okay, it receives through ostia and it exits through osculum. This is how the excretion, respiration and nutrition, all the works will be done by cells. Okay, so next let's move on to the next phylum. So these are few examples here. Euplectella, this is Venus flower basket. One more interesting and very important example. They'll ask me a little bit. And Hyalinema, which is called as glass rope sponge. How tiny and how thin it is, right? It is glass rope sponge. Okay, the next one. Coelenterata or cnidarians. So coming to coelentrates. So what are the characteristic features they exhibit? Coelentrates are aquatic, mostly marine, sessile and free swimming, which exhibit radial symmetry. Why they exhibit radial symmetry? Because they have cylindrical body. If we take jellyfish, okay, and if we take hydra, so all these are cylindrical shaped structures which exhibit the radial symmetry, and they have two different forms, that is polyp and medusa. These are zooids, okay, which exhibit alternation of generation, that is metagenesis. That is very important point in here. Metagenesis. Metagenesis is exhibition of or showing alternation of generations in the zooid forms. One is polyp form and the other one is medusa form. So you can see here, and larval forms. Because the development is indirect, so we have larval forms in coelentrates. The best examples is planular larva and ephira. So these two are the larval forms in coelentrates. Okay. Let's see few examples here. So hydra and jellyfishes comes with this. Okay, coelentrates. And one more very important point. Few cnidarians exhibit both forms, that is polyp as well as medusa. The best example of this is obelia. This is neat bit again, very important. Please note it down. Next. So coming to a few more examples, Penatula, which is called as Cpen, and this is Cfan. Okay, next. Coming to the next phylum, that is Ctenophora, which is commonly called as sea walnuts or comb jellies. You can see the picture here, how it looks like. They are known as amlas or walnuts, sea walnuts, okay, sea gooseberries also we can say. So these are the common names for this. You can see in this picture, they have few flagellated plate-like structures. Okay, this is important here. Body bears 8 rows of ciliated comb plates, which are actually responsible for locomotion of these organisms. Okay, and they exhibit bioluminescence. Bioluminescence is exhibited. You can see that how they emit light. So the organisms which emit light on their own is bioluminescence, and this is how they look like in the water. Okay, at the night time you are going to see if you watch Life of Pi movie, you can see that in the water how these organisms are emitting light. Okay, next. Few of the examples if you take is Birro and Cestum. These are the examples in Pinofora. Next, coming to spot check. Up till now what you have discussed, what we have learned based on that one question. So which of the following phylum has radially symmetrical organisms? So among these, which one exhibit radial symmetry? Come on, write the answer in chat box. So coelentrates, platyhelminthes, ascihelminthes, annelids. Which one? The answer is coelentrata. So coelentrates, they exhibit radial symmetry. The organism can be divided into equal halves in any plane of division. Okay, next, moving on to the next phylum. Platyhelminthes. So platyhelminthes are also called as flatworms. Flatworms. The body is flat shaped. Okay, they look as flat bodied organisms. The best example again is Taenia. Most of these organisms are parasites. Okay, they present inside the body of the host, endoparasites, and they harm the host. And one of the best example for parasitic adaptations is Taenia solium, which cause the disease called as teniasis in humans. So if we eat half-cooked pork, then inside the pig meat will have the Taenia solium, the eggs of the cyst, and they cause teniasis. That disease affects the body parts of the human. Okay, and few more things. They have suckers and hooks. With the help of suckers and hooks, they stick to the body of the host inside the intestine, and so that they happily enjoy the host body and feeding the digested food present in the small intestine. And even the proglatids which are there, which gets detached from the body, okay, they comes out to the fecal matter, and there is chance that the life cycle of this Taenia solium continues when the host pig comes and eats the fecal matter. That is how it completes its life cycle. Next, these are the systems where the important bits can be asked, like nervous system, which is ladder-like. So ladder-like nervous system will be present. That is one more important point. And fertilization is internal and many larval forms are present. Okay, this is very, very important. Coming to the next one, that is ascihelminthes. So ascihelminthes organisms, again here, these are also parasites. Okay, this concept is there in +2 if you take human health and disease. There we have discussed about elephantiasis, which is also known as filariasis. This is caused by vector mosquito. Again that we'll discuss in arthropoda. So animals are free living, aquatic, terrestrial, and they are parasitic, both in plants as well as even in animals. They exhibit bilateral symmetry. Body can be divided into equal halves in one plane of division, and they are pseudocoelomates, and they have muscular pharynx. They are dioecious. Both male and female are different. So you can see here in Ascaris and roundworms, male and female can be easily distinguished. Okay, male is shorter when compared to the female. This is how it looks like. And the larval form is also important, that is rhabditiform larva. This is important again. Coming to the next phylum, that is Annelida. Annelida, segmented body. Annelida means segmented body. So they have segments. Okay. So examples, will directly go with the examples and I'll tell you the importance of that. So Nereis is actually dioecious, where male and female organisms are separate. And earthworm, it is monoecious, but fertilization, when the time of copulation, 2 earthworms were involved in the exchange of the eggs. Okay. Next up. Here the Nereis are having some locomotor structures on the side of the body. These are called as parapodia. So these are the locomotor structures which are present in annelids, that is Nereis. Okay. Next up. The next phylum. So arthropoda. Arthropoda means jointed appendages. The organisms which is having jointed appendages are called as arthropods. So this is the largest phylum of animal kingdom. The largest phylum of animal kingdom is Arthropoda. That is again read bit. It exhibits organ system level of organization, which is triploblastic, having 3 germinal layers and bilateral symmetry. It has chitinous exoskeleton. The body is made up of chitin and the pigment is N-acetylglyceride. Okay, so that is present in the body of this arthropods. Next, body consists of head, thorax and abdomen, which is jointed appendages. Body is divided as head, thorax part and abdomen. If you take again Periplaneta americana, that is cockroach, triangular head, thorax, pro, meso, metathorax and next the body, right? Abdomen. Respiration, respiratory organs are gills, book lungs, tracheal system with open type of circulation. Here, example if you take scorpion, which is having book lungs for respiration. This is again important. These are exhibiting fertilization which is internal and they are oviparous, they lay eggs. And the excretory organs are Malpighian tubules. They excrete through Malpighian tubules. Okay. So let's see next phylum. Okay, there are few economic important organisms. Economic importance means the one which gives income for us. So what is the example? Honeybee, we get honey. Epicentica, next Bombic Seba, that is silkworm. Okay, silk we get. And there are few vectors which act as parasites. Mosquitoes, Culex mosquito, Aedes mosquito, dengue, chikungunya, malaria, all these are caused by the mosquitoes because they act as vectors. And living fossil, which is limulus, which is called as living crab, this is also important. Which is limulus, living fossil. Okay. Next phylum, mollusca. So these are soft-bodied and hard-shelled organisms. They have shell which covers the body and protects the body. And what is the important concept in this? They have feather-like gills, which is present between hump and mantle. You can see this is how it looks. Okay, the shell. Okay, and rasping organ called as radula. So with that, it takes the food materials. Mouth contains file-like rasping organ for feeding called as radula. Example, octopus and pila, the snail. Okay, these are the examples. Fine. Next. Again, spot check. Coming to the next question. Which of the following phylum have closed circulatory system? So coming to the closed circulatory system, arthropod is open, we have already discussed. Annelids, yes, annelids exhibit closed circulatory system where the blood flows inside the blood capillaries and blood vessels. Fine. Next, Echinodermata. Echino means spines. Okay, spine bearing organisms are echinoderms. Example, you can see starfish. This one, if you see here, it exhibits radial symmetry. So adult echinoderms exhibit radial symmetry, whereas generally they are bilateral. So they exhibit bilateral symmetry, where exception cases adults exhibit radial symmetry. This is one more important point. Digestive system is complete and they exhibit water vascular system. Water vascular system for locomotion and it helps for excretion also even. So you can see they have tube feet for locomotion and this is how the entire echinoderm body works. How they take the food materials with the help of water vascular system. Examples are starfish, brittle star, sea urchin. How they move actually with the small tiny structures they move like this. You can see sea feather and this sea urchin. How they show the movement, slight movement. Okay. So next phylum, hemichordata. This is the connecting link between the non-chordates as well as chordates. It is hemi means half chordate characters. So chordate characters means what? They have notochord, right? Non-chordates they does not have. Then how it became the connecting link? Because it exhibits the characters of both chordates as well as non-chordates. Fine. So it's formed like marine animals with organ system level of organization and they are coelomate animals, body is cylindrical, composed of anterior proboscis. Again it is important. So examples if we take is Balanoglossus and Sacoglossus. These are the other examples of hemichordates. Next, coming to the main concept, that is chordata. So chordata, chorda means notochord, eta means bearing. So these are chordates. So let's see what are the organisms classified further. So chordates are subclassified into urochordates, cephalochordates and vertebrates. So coming to urochordates. Uro means the presence of notochord at the tail region in the larval form. Okay. So only in the tail region if the notochord is present, that is urochordates. If it extends from head to tail, then that is cephalochordate. Cephalo means head region, right? And the last one is vertebrate. Vertebrates means the notochord which is present in the embryonic period and it is replaced by vertebral column. So the organisms where the notochord is replaced by vertebral column is invertebrates and without is invertebrates. This is how again they are further classified into. So the vertebrates are divided into agnatha, that means they lack jaws. So they don't have jaws. Circular mouth will be present. They don't have jaws. Okay. The organism that does not have jaws are agnatha, and the organisms which have jaws, the bare jaws, are gnathostoma. Stoma again mouth, gnatha means jaws. Now these gnathostomes are again classified into pisces and tetrapods. Pisces means fishes. They bear what? Fins. Whereas tetrapods, they bear limbs. So here fins, their limbs. So tetrapods example, what we have tetrapods? So can you tell which organism which I am drawing now? Is it looking like frog or not? So tetrapods, the one which are having limbs. So forelimbs and hind limbs. So here it is having fins. So fins are present which are responsible for the locomotion. Okay. So this is how the pisces and tetrapods are classified into. Examples. They are divided into further classes Chondrichthyes and Osteichthyes. Here they are classified into amphibians, reptiles, apes and mammals. So let's see few important points about Chondrichthyes, Osteichthyes and the tetrapods. So coming to the first, cyclostomes. Cyclostomes again, circular mouth, agnathostomes. Agnatha, where mouth is circular. They have circular mouth, no jaws, and they exhibit sucking and circular mouth without jaws. So these are parasitic. That means they are ectoparasitic. They do not enter into the body of an organism, but they stick to the body of organism outside and they suck the blood and flesh and then they feed on those organisms. These are ectoparasites. Okay, you can see the best example is petromyzon and mixin. These two are the examples where they are cyclostomes which have circular mouth without jaws. Okay, and the circulation is closed type. And here very important point in this is marine but migrate to fresh water for spawning and they die. The adult will go for spawning from marine to fresh water, that means from sea water to river, and they spawn, they breed and they die after few days. Now the eggs which are there, the larva return to the sea after metamorphosis. The eggs, from the eggs the larva will form and that larva will reach again to the mother's place. Okay, that is again back to the ocean and this process of change is metamorphosis. Next, Chondrichthyes. Chondrichthyes, cartilage fishes. So the body of these is made up of cartilage. So they are marine, they have streamlined body and they have cartilaginous endoskeleton which is tough and the skin looks tough. And they have minute scales called as placoid scales. The body will have some structures like this. These are called as scales, placoid scales. And gill slits are separated without operculum. Very important. So here they are having the gill slits, but the gill slits are not having any covering. So they are like this. The gill slits will be visualized. Okay. Next, they have powerful jaws and they are predators. When they say predators, you immediately understood jaw, right? The movie, shark movie. Yes. So air bladder is absent. So when the air bladder is not there, what happens? The organisms has to swim continuously because otherwise they don't have buoyancy capacity. So they cannot float. They have to constantly swim. So a lot of energy is required. Yes. Next, heart is two-chambered. chambered and they are poikilotherms. That means the organisms are poikilotherms, cold-blooded organisms. Okay. Sexes are separate. Male have pelvic fins which bear claspers. So claspers, the copulatory organs. Okay, the copulatory organs which are responsible for copulation. Internal fertilization, many are viviparous. Viviparous means they give rise to young ones. Generally we know that fish lay eggs, right? But here few examples are that they are viviparous. Okay. So examples if you take is torpedo and trigon. So electric ray and the electric organ, torpedo and trigon. These are the examples for contractile. And the great white shark, Tarcharodon. This is a great white shark where the gill slits are not covered by operculum. Here you can clearly see. Okay. Next, Pristis, sawfish. You can see that mouth, and this is mouth. It's present on the ventral side, and there is a part which is extended in front of the mouth that looks like a saw. That's why the name of this fish is sawfish. Okay, it looks like saw. Next, Polydon. This is called as dogfish. So this has ability to sense the smell. So that's why it got the name dogfish. Okay, not because it looks like dog. Okay, this is having the feature like that of dog. It can sense the smell. Next, coming to the next one, this is Osteichthyes. Osteichthyes are bony fishes. Their body is made up of bones. Okay, and here they are both marine and few exhibits freshwater forms, whereas in contractile cartilaginous fishes they are mostly marine. Okay. Very important is they have streamlined body with 4 pair of gills covered by operculum. Here the gills are covered by operculum. Lid-like structures will be present. They are covered with scales, and here air bladder is present. Their air bladder is absent. Yes, so they need to continuously swim. Here they can float because they have air bladder. That will help for them to float. So it is working as buoyancy. Right? It can float. And heart is 2-chambered. So it exhibits venous circulation, means only single circulation which is exhibited by these organisms, and that is incomplete. Okay. So the blood is not completely purified. Next, sexes are separate. Fertilization is external. You want to see the examples? So exocetus, which is called as flying fish, and hippocampus. And one more interesting thing is the males will have the brood pouch which will exhibit the parental care. The males will give rise to young ones. You can see that the male, okay, giving rise to young ones. The male exhibit parental care with the help of brood pouch. Okay. And this is a freshwater fish, that is rohu. The scientific name is Labio rohita. Okay. Next, coming to the economic importance. There are few characters of the fishes which are actually used. Like, see, cod liver oil, which is having vitamin D, and this shagreen, which is used like dry skin of the cartilaginous fishes is used. And isinglass, this is a gelatinous product for purification of wines and all. Okay, they use for economic importance. And stonefish, which is the most poisonous fish. And it exhibits catadromous migration. Catadromous migration means what? Migration means movement from the freshwater to marine. Okay, that movement is seen by eels, anguilla, and anadromous migration where it migrates from sea to river. Hilsa, Elisa, and Salmon Sala. These are the examples which exhibit anadromous migrations. Okay, let's now see a few important points of tetrapods. So tetrapods, always if you read in a comparative account. So vertebrates or chordates if you take Pisces, amphibians, reptiles, aves and mammals. If you read all these in a comparative way, and if you prepare a flow chart and a comparative chart, then it will be easy to gain marks and you will understand what are the exceptional cases and how you can read it in easy way. So let's see few of the important points. This is the end of the session. So coming to amphibians, we know that amphibians, amphi means half. It stays both on land as well as water, right? So that is why they are called as amphibians. Reptilia, they are creeping, okay, creeping or crawling. and aves, these are birds, and mammals. Mammals we have, right? And very important here, few things we'll see. Respiration is done by gills, lungs or skin. Respiration is by lungs. Respiration is by lungs, and here is also lungs. And very important is the comparison of heart. Heart is three-chambered, cold-blooded. So these amphibians as well as the fishes are cold-blooded. And reptiles, three-chambered heart, that is irregular, and crocodile is exception. Again here exception, crocodile four-chambered heart in reptiles. Important. And in aves also it's four-chambered and warm-blooded, homeotherms. And here also it's four-chambered and warm-blooded organisms. Next, see the egg-laying. So here it is oviparous, again oviparous, but here it is vivia or oviparous. Again, in reptiles we have exceptional case, that is Russell's viper. We'll see that in the examples. So this is Anura, which is Rana, and Gymnophiana, also known as Apoda. They don't have legs. And the example if you take is Ichthyophis, which exhibit parental care by protecting the eggs. Which one exhibit parental care? Male. Male exhibit parental care by taking care of the eggs. Yes? Again the same male exhibiting parental care. Again you saw hippocampus, that is seahorse. Remember that? Next. So if we take few more examples, exotil larva of salamander that is exhibiting neoteny. So what is neoteny? Neoteny means retention of the juvenile characters or larval characters in the adult. So this is because of lack of iodine in the surrounding waters they live. That is very important phenomenon. Remember. Necturus, which is known as mud puppy. Okay, a few more examples of reptiles. This is the viviparous reptile. Generally all are oviparous, the legs, right? This is the one which gives rise to young ones. Viviparous. Alligator. And few of the examples in snakes, reptiles, that is king cobra. And we'll see in birds, that is rhea, flightless bird and penguin, and blue whale and dolphin. These are all mammals. This is end of the animal kingdom. If you have any doubts regarding this concept, you are free to ask in the Telegram group, in the chat box, in the description box it is given below, and we'll give the answers as soon as possible. And that's all for today. Let's meet in the next session with one more new concept. But before that, in this chapter, whatever the important questions which are there, I have given the assignment which is also given in the description below. Try to solve it. Let's meet in the next class and we'll discuss those assignments. Okay? Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice day.